So yesterday, while taking a walk with my mom, we got into this conversation about love somehow, and I was explaining to her that I think there's something wrong with the way my brain works. Um, I don't know what it is. I mean, I was raised like everyone else. I was conditioned like everyone else. We watched the same romantic comedies, read the same fiction. I mean, I used to read Sweet Valley High, which is so gay, but it was one of my favorite books in primary school. I used to write like amazing love letters in school. If you ever ask like some of my exes, I used to put in so much work and like color and draw pictures and all that kind of stuff. Um, but as I've grown older, and I think with all the relationships that I've had, and where I am, I think in my life now, at some point, I thought maybe I don't know how to love correctly. Obviously, I've cheated, I guess, like every other guy, and I've lied to women that I care about, and it's hurt them a lot. It's broken their hearts. And because I'm an empath, I feel other people's pain. So I would feel their pain so deeply. I'd feel their pain so deeply, and it broke me. And I remember in 2016 thinking, maybe love is not for me. Maybe relationships are not for me. And these thoughts have been getting stronger, obviously, over the years to a point where I feel like today I've retired from dating, and I don't want this love business anymore. And um, I think I probably just want to have children now and not be in like a romantic relationship, because no matter what I do, I think I hurt women in one way or another. So my whole thing was, we're conditioned to believe in this ownership type of love, which means when you're dating someone, they belong to you. That's why where they are, who they're with, what they're doing, all of a sudden becomes something very important to you, of which it wasn't before. It wasn't your business who they are with, what are they doing, um, etc., etc. But you find that once you guys have concluded verbally, you are my boyfriend, you are my girlfriend, you now have this sense of ownership, to a point where if they cheat on you, if they say something hurtful, you break a week, a month, a year before you'd met them, a week, a month, a year after you break up with them. Those words are meaningless. Their actions don't mean anything. But because you are now in this verbal contract, all of a sudden this thing carries so much weight. And I think it's become a huge problem in our society. And I think it's one of the things that causes domestic violence, one of the things that leads to like very, very heavy depression and even suicide and homicide, where people are killing each other. I think this version of love that we've been taught is wrong. I don't think our union as man and woman was meant to be the way that it is today. Fundamentally, obviously, we're attracted to each other. I think for procreation, for breeding, you see someone that you want to make children with, and you're like, look, I want to get closer to this person. I want to see if we can make kids. I think my kids will be more beautiful. I think my kids will be more intelligent, whatever the case may be. Um, Today, we've added things like personality. Today, we've added things like sex, which I also think we're kind of doing wrong, because I don't know if sex was meant to be a recreational act, but maybe that's another controversial topic in itself. What's worse today is obviously the love that we have now translates all the way into marriage. People that believe in marriage, where you have this contract between yourself and your spouse, or between both your families, about owning each other. And the woman then has to come to the man's home, and for all intents and purposes, she now becomes a new member of the family. One of the things we spoke about yesterday was the fact that in the past, once the woman comes into my family, she no longer belongs to her family. That means if I pass away, she can't go back home, because her home is now my family. My family paid ilobolos to make sure that she's brought to my family. And if I have a brother, for example, or maybe a male cousin, he will then take responsibility for her as his wife. Not because he loves her, not because he's always been attracted to her, but as a responsibility that, look, this is a woman that was brought into our family and she needs some man to take ownership of her, to provide for her, etc. If she didn't have kids normally, then if the man is agreeable, whether it's my brother or my male cousin, then they will have children. Not because they love each other or whatever, but as a functional thing, that this lady was brought into this family to work for this family, to serve this family, and also to bear children for this family. And if I couldn't give that to her before I passed, the next man in my family who is somewhat willing can then take over that responsibility. It wasn't meant to be sinister. It wasn't meant to be dark. It wasn't meant to oppress women's rights as the Western world would have you think. You know, if ever, for example, another man wanted to come and marry her now after I've passed, they would then come to speak to my family, not her family anymore, because she's left that family. She's now part of my family. And they come to my family and they ask to marry this woman who's a widow. And then my family would charge ilobolo as if this is their daughter, because essentially she is now. These things were done functionally, they weren't done for malicious reasons. In the world we live in today, obviously, we've got a situation where men marry women. And today's women are so confused, obviously, because the leaders of our tradition are not progressive, they're not loud enough, they don't have systems that they've built which allow people to challenge and change some of the ways that we do things. Women are confused today. Today, women want ilobolo, they want a traditional wedding, they want the white wedding in church, they want to sign a legal document, and then they still want the wedding ring that's expensive, they want to go on the honeymoon, they want the man to provide and give her home. And then after all of that, she still wants to have her full rights as a woman. She wants to be empowered, she wants to be independent, she wants to be free to express whatever she wants. And if she doesn't want to do certain duties, she should be in her right, which is just a huge mess. And if you think of it just in basic transactional terms, it doesn't make sense because there isn't a fair value exchange. Forget money. Relationships are about value exchange. I don't have to buy anything from you, but maybe if I make you laugh, maybe if I feed you, maybe if I educate you, maybe if I help you with certain chores, you can then reciprocate and give me some kind of value as well. But women don't have that because they've inherited flimsy traditional customs while also adopting Western customs and the things that they see on TV, watching Brooke Logan and Rage Forrester getting married every single month. And they want that, So you find that TV is very influential in some of our relationships to a point where you listen to the music, the R&B we listen to, you watch the movies we watch, the books we read, like I said earlier. We're primed to love in a certain way, and I don't think it's natural. One of my complaints to my mom yesterday was some of my exes probably want nothing to do with me. Not because anything bad happened, but because we don't date anymore. And in my head, I'm thinking, but if we were together for 5 years, we built a relationship. I got to know you, I got to know your family. We learned things from each other, we experienced things like friends, like siblings. And now, because of this verbal contract of we're not dating anymore, we cannot engage anymore. If I need help from you, I can't get it. If you need help from me, you can't get it. All because of this Western notion of what relationships are. And now if I'm seeing a lady today, she gets upset that I'm chatting to an ex because of this term ex. Doesn't matter that I dated her when I was 16, when I was 18, like 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. What matters is that she's an ex. If it was a classmate, if it was a work colleague, if it was anyone else in my life, it's fine. Which now makes me want to not tell a lady that I'm with that this person is an ex so that she doesn't catch feelings. Because people like catching feelings over something that doesn't really make sense. This is someone that was an integral part of my life and my growth and my development at some point. But today I must treat them like a stranger purely because we've told each other we're not dating anymore. I think it's so childish and it's so sad because life is so long. And you're going to date someone for 2-3 years out of like a 70-year life. And then after those 2-3 years, you'll never speak to them again purely because they cheated, they hurt you when they were like 19 trying to find themselves, or 25 and had to suffer from temptation. But I kept emphasizing to my mom that according to society, I'm wrong. My thinking is wrong. I'm the one that doesn't understand. You're supposed to block all your exes from all your platforms. You're supposed to not speak to them. You're supposed to not care about their families or want to attend funerals of their parents or whatever the case may be. And I think that's so weird. And I think it's wrong. And it's because the love or the way we're taught to love today doesn't make a rational, functional sense in my head. And true to me, I think it's the reason why we hurt each other so much. If you stopped owning your partner and understand that this is a human being that's got their own journey in life, and I'm just a part of that journey, whether it's temporary or permanent, we can date for 2 years and learn so much from each other about life, about business, about family, about children. We can even have children. I can meet your family. We can exchange money. We can do business together. And then for the rest of our lives, after we supposedly break up, we can stay in contact on the things that we shared interest in. Or we can choose not to, but healthily so, to a point where one day, if you need help, you can reach out to me. One day when I need help, I can reach out to you. But the way our minds are created, or the way our minds are conditioned, today, by the systems that exist, church, school, media, TV, music, society at large, we're really, really learning some type of weird love dynamic, which I think is incredibly unhealthy. But I'm wrong, obviously. But I just wanted to share my thoughts. I think yesterday when I was speaking about it, it sounded better speaking in isiZulu. But these are some of my thoughts. I probably left out some of the other things I spoke about, but I'm just sharing my thoughts on why I think our love is wrong. I forgot to touch on polygamy. But maybe I'll make another video about that at some point. Have a great day. Cheers.